What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down the incorrect way to use a speed cut or a heavy indicator cut at the top of the route. So what is a speed cut? So a speed cut is something you would use like if you're running maybe a 10-yard out, a post, a corner, sometimes a dig, but that just hard one single cut that you make. Now, some people refer to a speed cut as kind of like, like a rounded cut, and that's fine, and that's probably a terminology that a lot of people use. But so I use the term maybe heavy indicator cut, but it's essentially just that one hard cut that you make at the top of the route. But what are some of the common mistakes wide receivers make? So this first clip right here, this is the first one. We're going to be discussing two mistakes. The second one is probably the more common one you would see, but this one right here is something that a lot of receivers don't do. So anytime that you're getting up into a route where you got to break off in one cut, you're trying to throw a head fake, so many wide receivers don't understand that you have to have speed into that movement. You cannot slow down right before the break. Because what a DB is looking for is, I'll give you some little insight on man coverage. Where are his eyes supposed to be? Eyes supposed to be on the hips, supposed to be reading the body language, right? So a lot of guys will either raise up their pad level or they will simply start to slow down right before the break point. And when you slow down, you're no longer selling vertical. The three things that are going to help you sell vertical is going to be running hard, which is going fast, having a good pad level, selling fade with your body language, and keeping full stride. If you can do all three of those things, there's nothing that tells that DB that you're making a break. Now, that's much easier said than done, because now a lot of wide receivers, they try to do that, but they just don't have the mechanics of their cut. They don't have the explosiveness to be able to make that cut, and that's why we have to work on those things in the offseason. But you see how this wide receiver right here, right before he makes that break, he steps super heavy with his outside foot. He's selling fade, steps heavy, and starts to slow down. All that does is puts the DB on alert that he's making a break. We want the last possible second you guys break this thing off on one single cut. Now, how do you make that cut? You have to focus on that cut being sudden. You have to keep that cut underneath your frame. This cut got a little bit outside of his frame. So make sure, fellas, I'm selling fade, full stride, full speed, and the cut changes direction for me, not slowing down, giving an indicator to this DB, and then making the cut. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job with the release. Great job getting separation, just we cannot slow down right before the break to let that DB recover. Now, second most common mistake that we see is guys will have incorrect movement with their upper body. Okay, so now that affects the cut. That takes away explosiveness, and it's also an indicator just like we talked about. But before we get into this, fellas, I want to talk to you guys about something we are offering this offseason. We are traveling out to 6 more states across the U.S. for 2-day-long quarterback and wide receiver training camp. So if you guys are local to Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, and Los Angeles, California, fellas, we are coming out to your state, your city for 2 whole days, 4 hours of training each day for 2-day quarterback and wide receiver training camp. So again, these aren't really camps, fellas. We're keeping the group small. It's only going to be about 10 to 12 guys. We're limiting spots, actually. So if we get more than 12 guys, or we won't get more than 12 guys because we're limiting it. We're not going to have more than 12 guys per position group out there, because we're actually going to take the time to develop you, coach you, train you, everything that you should be getting at a camp. There are too many camps where it's just guys just coming out there and they claim that they're going to get exposure. And in reality, it's 50 guys at your position. You get 1 rep every single hour and you don't get coached. That is the polar opposite of what we are trying to do. So if this seems like something you'd be interested in, something that's going to help your game improve, which it will, check out that very first link in the description below, you guys. If you're local to one of these states, one of these cities, or want to travel out to one of them, we always appreciate it. We love our YouTube community, and we hope we can get you guys out there, because great opportunity for you to work with myself and my staff of coaches that I will bring out to every camp. So again, very first link below, fellas, if you want to come out and get some work in with us this offseason in Georgia, Ohio, Chicago, Dallas, Nashville, or Los Angeles. Let's get back to this video. So now, second mistake, this is a huge mistake that wide receivers will make, is that they don't commit to the cut. They round their pad level to the cut. Now, the problem with that is that you're no longer selling fade, and you don't need the cut to change direction, so you don't have explosion out of it. So this wide receiver, again, does a great job off the line, but right before the speed cut, right, he's trying to cut off of this leg. Look at where his body is, right? There is nothing about his body placement that says he's going vertical, right? So let's talk about this. So off the line of scrimmage, right, we move the DB off the platform. This is called restacking, right? Getting skinny or getting back vertical. So when I get skinny and when I get vertical, your body has to commit you vertical. And that's how you get a more explosive heavy indicator cut or a speed cut, right? But what he does is he comes off of here and his shoulders and hips are just telling this DB, hey, I'm running to the right. Nothing about this is getting his hips to fully open, fully commit to the fade. And again, what that does is you've already changed direction. So the cut doesn't need to be explosive. The cut's going to be soft. And when that cut is soft, you can't use that cut to shoot you out of the break, right? So what I mean by that is when you're running routes, there's 3 phases to every route, right? You got to self-fade, number 1. Pretty self-explanatory. Number 2 is the break point, right? Number 2 is this point right here. And that break point, a lot of people call it the energy creation phase, or at least that's what I call it, because that cut has to have so much explosion to get you to the 3rd phase of the route, which is the acceleration phase, which is you driving out of the break and running. But if you don't have any explosion there, you're pretty much just running. And that doesn't give you that extra burst. That doesn't give you that extra acceleration. And when you turn your hips and your shoulders right before the cut, that makes you lose all of that. You have to essentially start over. So make sure, fellas, when we get back vertical, committing hips, committing shoulders, so that cut has to change direction for you so you could drive. But also, when your hips and your shoulders turn, where are the DB's eyes supposed to be? Right on the hips. So he will be able to recover. Again, they didn't recover on this one necessarily because the release was very good. But if that's tight coverage, that DB is all over that thing. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job with the release, but we have to make sure before I make that speed cut to get more power on, the heavy indicator, I commit my hips and my shoulders back vertical. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave that in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback, and it's always great to hear from you guys as well. You help keep the channel going, so we appreciate it. And again, fellas, if you're local to Georgia, Ohio, Chicago, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, or Los Angeles, California, you want to come get some great work in with us for 2 whole days, 4 hours each day. Check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you out to one of our off-season camps. I'll see you guys next time.